when people come to us and are like, we've got something starting in 4 weeks. What do we do? I went to a wedding in October. We got an invitation in August and we got a save the date card in May. That is a great example of communicating, right? Like that's like a 6-month communication span. Had she just posted on her Instagram the day before she got married, yo, I'm getting married and I want you all to come, right? Or sent an evite on Friday saying, please come to my wedding on Saturday, nobody would have showed up. A lot of times I see organizations, businesses, soloists who are launching something, be it a digital product or a service, launch it in a way where they almost treat it like the latter example, like the Evite example, right? Like they send something out, they post on social, maybe they send an email, and then nobody shows up and they get really butthurt, sad. And then they're like, well, that failed, right? I'm done. So instead, I like to think like treating your product launches and your social or your email or your website, just like you would the care and feeding of planning a wedding or a big party that you're having with all, like a family reunion, right?
Hey everyone, welcome to Your First Digital Product, a show that helps maxed out service providers create their first digital product so they can gain an additional income stream, grow their impact without increasing one-on-one work, and experience more time freedom. On the show, I talk to business owners who have launched digital products and dig deep into how you can create, launch, and market your first digital product. I'm your host, Renee Morozowicz. Let's go. Hey everybody, today I'm here with Corrie Oberdin, and Corrie works with small teams, teams of one, and soloists to help make sense of their social media marketing and email options. She has been working in digital marketing since 2000 and specializing in social media and digital customer communications since 2006. Hey Corrie, how are you?
Hey, yay.
Yay, I'm excited. So do you want to tell us a little bit about you? Like that was a lovely sounding bio that I read, but if you want to say some things in your own words.
So it's true. I have been in digital marketing since 2000. I got my start in New York City, of all places, doing music marketing with a company called Electric Artists. And they did what we then called online street teams, which were basically taking old school music street teams that record labels used to use and translating them online. And I have been doing some form of helping companies communicate with their communities ever since. Going into, my early career was focused a lot on like website, like literally people who own GeoCities websites.
Yes.
And shopping groups and news groups. Going from that to blogs, and I did a lot of early influencer marketing with bloggers like mom bloggers and things like that. And then in about 2005, 2006, the company I was then with started really getting into how can we use social media. So social was a natural fit for me. And I've kind of been here ever since with like lovely little tangents into everything from customer communications training and like online sentiment looking at and email and all sorts of other stuff that as long as it kind of helps people communicate with their communities about what they're doing. So that's really it. And I feel like a dinosaur in the industry because I literally been around since 2000. I also had my 31st anniversary with the internet in 2022. So
Nice.
I got on the internet back in CompuServe days, if anybody knows what that is.
Yeah, I went to college and we had a VAX system. Like it was all like text-based and you were checking your email and like it was, totally different time. So I bet that it's really valuable to have seen the things that have changed and seen the things that have stayed the same.
Yeah.
Probably stayed the same in that like we still need to communicate with potential customers and community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, people do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about, so this is a different episode. I probably should have said that up front. This is a different episode. Normally I talk to people about their products and their first product and all that stuff. And today we're going to talk about how to use social media and other things to promote your product. So it could be launch marketing. And I talk also about ongoing marketing, a little
Hmm.
bit different strategy. So we can talk about both or either, whatever you'd like to talk about. So people are on social media sometimes, right? Mostly, some people are in all the places, some people are in some of the places, some people are like, I don't do social media. But like, how, like, I think a lot of us who are using it are confused. Like, we just don't know. We don't know what to do with it. We're like, do I post about my product every day? What if I post about it once every 6 months? Like, will that work? So people do stuff like that. So
Sure.
just kind of lead us in here to this discussion about like, what do we even do with social media and our products? Just kick us off.
Sure. So that question is literally bigger than a bread box. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody watches Doctor Who, but like it's a small question, but it's bigger on
Mhm,
the inside. It's like the TARDIS.
mhm,
Um, so how should we use social media to promote our products? I, I would say first of all, to your friends who you mentioned who aren't on social at all, I'm gonna say something extremely antithetical for someone who actually works in social. Maybe you should not be on social promoting your products. If you aren't already actively using
mhm, okay.
social,
Mhm,
um, you either need to think of social as a long-term strategy or you need to maybe not use it at all.
mhm,
Um, a lot of times, and I'm going to give you an example from I work with a lot of nonprofits, or I have in the past. And one of the things that always struck me is I would get contacted about events that were happening, and an organization would be like, hey, we need to retain you to do some social media work for us. We're having an event on April 15th. And I look at my calendar and it would be like March 7th. And I would look at their social and they have like nothing on about the event. They have nothing on about anything. And that is a flawed line of thinking. Like, you need to be using social regularly if you're going to be using social to promote your products.
mhm,
So, first of all, to my friends who are not using social, maybe look at it as a long-term strategy and start using it, but don't expect to like hop on and like make a big splash with a launch if you have
mhm.
not used it or don't use it. For my friends who are using social and you're just confused, right? You're like, what do I do?
Yeah. What do I
Well,
post? When do I post it?
But how? So my first pieces of advice are, number one, start with what you know, right? So there's a tendency when we are launching something, particularly for soloists and small businesses, to be like, I am doing this new thing. I need to be everywhere. I need to be on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and Threads and Facebook, and I have to do it all. And that is a recipe for burnout and a recipe for not doing anything well, right? So if you are a soloist or a small business, and I qualify small businesses not necessarily in revenue, but in personnel,
Mhm,
right? You've got a one-person marketing team and you are launching something. Don't make that person open 5 new social accounts to promote your thing, right? Start with where you are and start with what you know. So that's number one. So just like you can plan your the products you want to launch strategically, you can plan the channels you want to be on strategic. And you don't just have to jump into them all at once. So that's number one. Number two is planning. Actually, like that's the secondary piece. So a lot of times, similar to the nonprofit scenario I did, actually, I've got a great example for you. And it's a real world non-marketing example, but I'm gonna just use it um in the hopes that people will understand the idea of planning from a marketing perspective and how a lot of marketers' brains work when people come to us and are like, we've got something starting in 4 weeks. What do we do? I went to a wedding in October and it was the wedding of a very close friend. We got an invitation in August and we got a save the date card in May. That is a great example of communicating, right? Like that's like a
mhm,
6-month communication span. And she even had like separate cards for like different things, right? So there was like an after rehearsal dinner, we got an invite. Had she just posted on her Instagram the day before she got married, yo, I'm getting married and I want you all to come, right? Or sent an evite on Friday saying, please come to my wedding on Saturday, nobody would have showed up. A lot of times I see organizations, businesses, soloists who are launching something, be it a digital product or a service, launch it in a way where they almost treat it like the latter example, like the
Mhm.
Evite example, right? Like they send something out, they post on social, maybe they send an email, and then nobody shows up and they get really butthurt and
Mhm.
sad. And then they're like, well, that failed, right? I'm done. So instead, I like to think like treating your product launches as and your social or your email or your website, just like you would the care and feeding of planning a wedding or a big party that you're having with all like a family reunion,
Mhm.
right? So you want to start thinking about what your marketing is going to look like as you are doing your product, right? As you are creating your product. I realize some products have really small lead times. So in that case, like you might want to give yourself extra time between creation and launch to plan your marketing. But my general rule of thumb is you need before when you're launching something, depending on what it is. So note this is a rule of thumb, it's not full guideline. I like to see people start talking about the launch 6 weeks in advance. That's my rule of
Mhm.
thumb.
Okay.
Some people, if it is a big ticket item, right? Like I have a friend who has a coaching program. It's a physical fitness coaching program, and it's a pretty hefty outlay. It's like a 750 outlay for like high level hand holding. Um, she starts talking about that 3 months in advance
Okay.
because like people got a budget, right? Like they're not just gonna like fork over $700 because they saw a post on Instagram 2 weeks before.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of number one. Like my rule of thumb is 6 weeks for a lot of things, but I like to see it differs based on the monetary outlay,
Mhm.
what it is, and also the time outlay for people. Actually, that's number two. So
Mhm.
planning, right? But then also, you want to plan your messages before launch. And then number three is making sure everything matches. So there's this term in the marketing industry called integrated communications, and some people love it and some people hate it because it means we all have to work together. When you're in a big company and you've got PR and corp comms and brands and branding and
Mhm.
social and email and all these different parts work together, it means there's big teams coming together to make a campaign happening either through an agency or internally. When you are a small business and a soloist, that means you are literally all those things in one doing the thing. So, what that often means, and the advice I give people, is making sure they don't write anything in a vacuum. So, for example, I would create your content, right? And add maybe if it's a short content or a short digital product, you can create your content first, but you could also work on your marketing as you are creating, like if you're doing a bigger.
Mhm.
Um, create your landing page. Once you've created your landing page, create your email sequence or your lead magnet or whatever you are doing, and then create your social messages off of that, making sure that you are not going over here with your social, like your social messages are promising one thing, your
Mhm.
landing page is promising another, you don't even have email. So that's a piece. The second piece from a planning perspective is saying, all right, I'm going to post on social leading up to my launch, my social, once a week for 5 weeks. I'm going to mention the launch and what it is, and I'm going to talk about it and the problem I'm solving. And then for a week, maybe I'll do a live, maybe I'll do something special, maybe I'll offer a disc, whatever it is that you are doing. You have kind of a little intense period, and the intense period matches for your email list and your social as well.
Okay.
And then finally, and I know we kind of like backed into this, then after you launch, the other thing I see people do is, depending on how the launch goes, especially, a lot of times there's a lot of emotion tied up. When you are a soloist or a small business owner, there is so much emotion because you are not just saying, here is my product, please buy it. You are actually saying, here is a piece of me, please validate the work that I have just done.
And please love me.
Love me.
And think it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing is, sometimes when things don't go well, I see people having a tendency to hide and be like, that product, I don't know her. I have no idea who she is. Is remembering that you never know when your audience is going to meet. So they might meet you 2 weeks after you have launched your product. And if you don't talk about it, they will have absolutely zero idea it exists. There is no entry point. Final piece is looking at your marketing calendar. And this is where I mentioned you should have even the barest bones of a marketing calendar or a pattern, and saying, once a month or twice a month, I'm going to post about this product. Either stories, whatever. And once a month or whenever my email comes out, I'm going to mention this product. Or I might have it in my email signature, or I might have it every couple months, I'll put it at the front of my website. Like, there are different things you can do, but just making sure that your launch isn't the last time you are talking about it. And the last kind of piece on that I will say is that a lot of times we assume that people remember everything we said.
All right.
Then I'm going to ask you if you remember what you had for lunch 2 days ago.
Right.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And that's really good.
Yeah.
No. Right?
For sure not.
You remember what I posted
Yeah.
3 days ago on social media?
Yeah.
You do know. It was probably something whiny or annoying, but don't, right? Like, so we think that people are paying a lot more attention to us than they are. And so you have to remind. That's the lesson I actually ever got doing this. Back in 2013 to 2017, I worked with a local utility company to do their social. And the coolest thing I learned was that they were legally obligated by law in the state that I live in to share consumer safety messages in their mailers, like the utility bills you get. Like, if you've ever gotten a utility bill and it says, smell gas, call, boo, they are not doing that out of the goodness of their heart. They are doing that because the government has said you have to let people know. But when we did those messages on social, because we kept a similar pattern, they were the best performing messages because people were like, I had no idea. And we were like, we are posting this literally twice a month. How do you not know this already? It's because people do not pay attention to you as much as you think they are. And your audience is always meeting you at a different time in a different place. So that was a very long answer.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, it's good. I have questions though, or maybe comments or observations. So you mentioned the wedding invitation and the save the date and things like that. So, and then also the utility bill. So it's kind of just like good things to keep in mind that, like, for example, when you get a utility bill, you're probably not reading it all in depth.
Right.
And then when you get something like save the date, because you're sending it via postal mail, it's really like people will get it. They're not going to not get it. So, like, thinking about your social messages and your emails, not everybody opens your email. Not everybody's going to read the whole thing. Not everybody's going to see that social post, not because they weren't online that day or the algorithm, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, those are great analogies, but also keeping in mind like how they apply to this situation. People are not going to comb through your 8,000 word sales page, just like that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So that also lends me to say, this is why you should diversify
Mhm.
what you do and not rely just on social, or not rely just on email, or not rely just on search,
Mhm.
right? They frequently talk about how businesses must be on Instagram, which
Mhm.
is, but what they don't mention is that they also have a banging email list, an incredible podcast, and a really extensive website.
Mhm.
So even while they are talking about you need to be on Instagram a lot, they have this whole diversified chain of marketing that people can meet them at, or find them at, or pay attention to. So that's kind of number one. Number two is, this is one of the reasons why, like, I think social kind of had a little bit of a disservice, and this has been since 2005. Like, we say it's easy because it's the only form of marketing that everybody knows how to do.
Mhm.
You might not know how to do an HTML email, right? Because that can be a little hard, like a designed, nice email, right?
Mhm. Not
But
just
you,
like a graphic with all the words on top.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Like a
Yeah, yeah,
real one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like a real, like, get
Mhm.
in the, right. You might find that a mystery and be like, that's really cool. I don't know how to, they do that. You might not know how to do design a print ad or do a commercial, but everybody and their mom knows how to post on Facebook, for better or worse. So, a lot of times we think social is easy, social is fast, social is my solution because I already know how to do it. But then we ignore kind of all of the other chains of command. For my clients who also engage with people in real life, I make sure that they don't discount mailing
Mhm.
or print or radio. I mean, like Pandora. Like, I have a client who uses Pandora a ton. Not, I don't know if it's Pandora. I think maybe now they've switched over to Spotify. But
Mhm.
like in 2017, 2018, they were using Pandora all the time. So that's a thing where, like, it's not just, and they are a small client. They are not big, and their spend is not huge. They used it. So it's kind of one of those things of, where else are your audience? The other piece is, you, for people who are virtual, almost always virtual, right? They don't see people in person.
Mhm.
Never discount letting your, I call it like a matrix of influence, right? But it's the people in your network that you talk to a lot, right? Letting them know personally that you are launching something. So I'm going to give you an example. I have a friend who is teaching a course next year, and it's live. So it's not like a digital product,
Mhm.
but it's actually virtual. So you can attend it, right? She has taken an Instagram break, and which is cool. I would like to take an Instagram break, but it's taken an
You
Instagram break.
can.
She sent a personal email to like 50 people in her network who have supported her career at some point in time or used her services, and said, I mean, it was a cut and paste email, but it was personalized to
Mhm.
me. It wasn't through like a mailing system or, MailChimp or Constant Contact or anything. And it said, I would really appreciate it if you could let your network know about this. And there is power in that too. So, like,
Mhm.
one thing I like to tell people, if you are launching something and you have a small band of friends or colleagues or clients or partners, do not discount personally letting those people know. Like, don't discount that. I have a client who has launched something recently. One of the most amazing things that she has done is she has created care packages for her most invested people, and she has sent them to them with information about her product.
Mm. Nice.
And I got one, and I remember being like delighted. And
Mhm.
like the first thing I did was share about it on social. So a lot of times we look at automation and we look at social and we look at digital and we think that's print or offline networking or like offline advertising isn't for me because I'm this. But like just personally emailing someone and letting them know you've done something can go really, really far as well. I know a lot of people, some people have huge audiences and they may be like, who needs to do that? Like, who has time for that? But for smaller businesses and smaller people, it can go really, really far. And so that's kind of where I always feel weird because I'm the social media email person. But I'm also always asking the question of like, what are you doing offline? Like, what are you doing in the real world? How are you connecting with your existing clients or your client base or people that you worked with in the past? Like, that's something that you have to kind of continually mine as well.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that before. And I had an episode with Maggie, and she mentioned that too. She calls them the wolf pack, her wolf pack.
Yeah.
And she will send an email to them and let them know. But also like make sure to say that like, hey, when you have something, I'll be happy to share it with
Yeah.
my network. And I have also been on the receiving end of one of those too. I have a client who I've gotten an email from her like, hey, I have a thing. And you can tell it's like a very specific, like, because we are friends, clients, like it's a different situation. So, yeah. And I think it does go a long way. And especially when someone asks you, hey, would you share this if you think it's appropriate for your audience or if you think your audience would find value in that? I'm going to be like, no, friend, I won't do that. Like,
Why won't
of course you're going to do it. Like you want to do it. And when people are asking you for help, you're happy to help. Like it's, and then I think that is, you're leveraging then so many other audiences. Like your audience can be whatever size it is, but like more audiences are good exposure for your product. So
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I really, like to use the wedding analogy, right? Like to go back to that, the paper invitation is the personal ask you make of your work, right? That it's not even the ask, it's that I'm doing this thing and I just wanted you to know, right? That can be that, but it's also talking about it and letting people know what you're doing on an ongoing basis. And the other piece of that is consistency. So, I know you mentioned, I think right at the top, you were like, how often should I post? I actually just wrote a newsletter about this. I have a newsletter called Sustainable Social, and the topic last month was on how often should I post? And there is no right answer. I actually just saw on a friend retweeted as a joke, somebody had been like, you should post on Threads 10
Oh, I
times.
saw that.
Yeah, like Facebook once a week, Instagram twice a day, like stories 5 times a day. And like,
Oh
first
my
of all,
God.
that is bananas, right? Number one. But like number two is there is no formula. Like there is no formula. And anybody who tells you there is a formula that they can tell you without knowing anything about your business or your circumstances, it's full of CRAP. Because every business is different, even within a niche. My rule of thumb is I look at 4 things. I'll just pick, do you mind? I really like numbers.
Do the
I don't
things. Yeah, all the things. Count them all up.
know. I like numbers.
Yeah.
And if you watch my Instagram ever, I do like this a lot. Um, I look at what your audience, what their capacity is. Because if you are like, I am going to have a huge, like 6 weeks up to launch, I'm going to post every week. And then my launch week, I'm going to post like every day. I'm going to do like 3 live, whatever. I'm making all this up. Don't write any of this down. If your audience is on the channel at night while they're in bed scrolling Instagram to like look at cat memes, your big launch week is not going to have a lot of traction, right? Or if you're like, I'm going to have a big thing on, I'm going to do a big LinkedIn, whatever. And your audience is, I don't know,
On vacation. It's a
Yeah.
holiday or something. Yeah.
So that's kind of what is your audience's threshold for posting? And you can find that out by talking to the people who work with you already. So that's number one. Number two, you can also pay attention to your metrics, but that's like a totally different conversation that we're not going to have right
Yeah.
now. That needs I need like a whiteboard.
Right.
I kind of go a little nuts. Number two is the channel. So I said both LinkedIn and Instagram. Like LinkedIn's threshold for posting, like I posted something a week ago and I don't need to post again because people are still reacting to it.
Mhm.
People are still reacting to a post I made 2 weeks ago. So the LinkedIn's threshold is a little bit lower for like daily posts or even weekly posts than say Instagram is. And then Instagram stories are different from Instagram feed. So like, what is that? So you kind of look at your audience and the channel and you kind of put them together to see what comes
Mhm.
out. The third thing is your capacity for creating content
Yeah.
because I talk to a lot of organizations, big organizations that are like, we want to post twice a day on this channel. And I'm like, cool, 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 cool. So we're going to create some content. We plan the content. And then when it comes to this is a fool me once, fool me twice. So this doesn't happen very often anymore, but we'd plan the content. And then they would be so busy, they couldn't get me the stuff
Mm.
that I needed to make the content. And that's an example of a big organization, but sometimes even small businesses, you're like, I'm gonna have this many photos, I'm gonna have this many captions, I'm gonna have this many things. And if you are a service provider and you're doing a product to like get out of that service provider churn and your client has an emergency, suddenly your posting schedule is totally off because you
Mhm.
wanted to post daily, but now you don't have time to create it. So really looking honestly at your capacity. And when I work with clients, um, I I will literally do the mom thing because I have 2 kids, right? So I will make the mom face. You've been on the receiving end of this, where I'll be like, "But really?
That's
You
what you're
actually
deciding? Yeah.
really did that? Okay,
Yeah.
let's think about, like, can
Yeah.
you really?" So that's kind of really asking yourself, "But really? Do I
Mhm.
wanna to X, Y, and Z?" Right? So that's kinda number 1. That's not even number 1, that's number 3. So your organizational capacity, whether you are a soloist or a small business owner or in an organization, like, what is that?
Mhm.
And then number 4, do you have on a capacity note, do you have the capacity to engage with the people who engage your content?
Mhm.
Because it's not just about posting your stuff. Social media is social.
Mhm.
So you have to be prepared. If you are going to talk to people, you have to be prepared for them to talk back.
Mhm.
And so if you are looking at how often should I post, but you don't have time to engage with comments or questions, you need to post less so you can make time
Mhm.
to engage with those comments or questions. Um, the other piece of that puzzle, and I know that this isn't like 100% the point, but I will mention social ads. So if you are spending money on Facebook or Instagram, boosting your posts, etc., one of the things I always ask clients when they're thinking about budget for that is what is your organizational, what is your capacity for answering questions?
Mhm.
Now, you might not get a lot of questions, but I'll give you an example. I had a client, this was pre-pandemic, who wanted to run a series of Facebook ads, and their budget was very big, like in the 5 figures for a local organization. And their call to action was to contact them. And I was like, the people to answer
Right.
that many people.
Yeah.
And the answer was, oh, no, we don't. So let's reconfigure
Mhm.
this thing. So you really do need, whether you are just posting on social or you are spending money to boost your posts, you need to make sure, especially if you're a soloist, that you can handle. I always like to tell people, can you handle accidentally going viral? And when I say viral, there's a couple different types of viral. Like there's like getting on CNN on
Yeah.
viral. Nobody wants that. But then there's like getting like 250,000 views,
Hmm.
right? And like 500 comments, like that is a burnout situation right there.
Hmm.
So making sure that you have the capacity to deal with some of this stuff, where you can shove stuff aside to manage some of that, that can be really important too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I wanted to say about the content, like you had mentioned earlier on about creating the marketing content like at the same time as you were creating like the product content. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind that it's not just all fresh, brand new content.
Yes.
However, I have embarked. I'm in the middle of a social media campaign about I did 22 days of digital
Yeah.
products and I'm on day 12. And whoo, is it a lot of work?
It's a lot of work.
Posting
It is
every
a lot.
day and like reconfiguring for platforms and creating images for specific platforms. And I feel like in the future, I would be able to reuse, like if I did it for the next 2 seasons, I can reuse it. But like now, just writing it because on Twitter, it only can be this many characters, but on Threads, it can be more. But on Threads, this doesn't look good, but this looks good. Like, so it's something to consider that,
Yes.
yes, you should start with the content you've already created. However, earmark time to manipulate it to the platform that you need.
Yes. So I actually think of that more as administrivia
Okay.
content than creating the content.
Okay.
The hitch that I see a lot of people having is actually the sitting down. Like, and I think a lot of times when I talk to people about creating content, they envision like sitting down with a blank piece of
Ah.
paper,
Mhm.
or like a blank Word document, and like writing, going into Canva or Adobe with a blank graphic and like
Mhm.
scribbling. Like that is the point I see people get hitched up on sometimes, which is why I say create the content as you go, which is like, maybe as you're creating something, like earmark, oh, I can talk about this, or I can talk about this, or I
Mhm.
can talk about this. Like these can be talking points because I'm solving a problem with this product. But to your point, that is also a part of content creation. I see, and I call it iteration. So creating content specific for each platform is actually iterating content.
Okay.
And when I'm actually doing, you pretty much described it, but when I create content for people, we start with what I call a base message. And so that's kind of what you know this
Mhm.
because we've talked about it, but like I'll start with a base message, and then I have an iteration process where I will do it through. This is also why, if you are a one person shop or a solo business owner, it is important not to be like, I am going to post 5 times a day on every single platform I'm on. And I'm on 8 platforms. Like I'm on
Mhm.
Blue Sky, I'm on Mastodon, I'm on Threads, I'm on Twitter. Like that's a lot of work.
Mhm.
So that's another piece of the puzzle as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and keeping it small, I think the message of this show, and I would say that maybe return listeners, hopefully I've either convinced them already or I'm hopefully on the way that like you got to scale this stuff way down. Like don't create that huge course. Don't pretend you're going to post on every platform 5 times a day. Like you know you're not going to do that. It's not sustainable either.
Yeah.
Just like lower the bar, lower, lower, lower. What can you
Yeah.
do consistently? And I think if you show
Yeah.
up consistently, like you feel a lot better and it's manageable over time because yeah, that client work comes up, the emergencies come up, like, and you can't just be like, oh, well, no more social media posting because I have 3 client emergencies. Like,
Yes. And also that note, I will tell you that the advice that I give, like the start small, right? Because you're doing God's work by doing this, by the way. Like that is literally what here. Because a lot of times I think in the industry, we are held, particularly in social media, we're given these brands as
mhm,
exemplifiers, right? Who I don't think people understand. It's not just a social media manager working at Wendy's. It is a team of people.
Mm-hmm.
There are like a ton of
Yes.
people. I have worked on some big social clients. There were like 20 people involved.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people. Even some of my mid-sized social clients, I had 7 people involved. Now, when we say to someone who is a one-person shop, you need to, or like a marketing team of
Mm-hmm.
one in a small business, you need to be held to the same standards as Verizon. That's wild,
Mm-hmm.
right? So think about what resources do other people have. And a lot of times, even with small influencers who launch courses and products, there is a difference between an influencer who you might look at someone and say, oh, this person is in my space. They are creating all this incredible bespoke content for their channels. And I'm repeating the same graphic on 3 channel, or the same message,
Mm-hmm.
but they're doing something new every day. Like, how is that happening? I am here to tell you, they have virtual assistant. They have a marketing team. They might have a Corrie, right? They might have a Corey and like another person. There are whole teams of people that I think we, as a lot of times solo business owners, feel like we have to emulate people. But in reality, we are only seeing the one person. We are not seeing
Right.
the team behind, which is
Yeah.
actually, I will give a shout out. My friend Naomi Hadaway does an amazing podcast, and she's got as well.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi.
Yeah.
I know Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
She did just launch a book, and she has done an excellent job of sharing the team behind her. And I wish more people would do that, because it is so easy to say, like, why can't I do X? And I have a lot of conversations with people who are like, why can't we do X?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be like, look at what you're working with,
Yeah.
right? You're working with like half, especially I have a lot of people who do like maybe part-time stuff. I'm like, look at what you're working with. You have a full-time job and you're doing
Yeah.
this and you're launching a thing and it's literally just you. Like,
Yeah.
that,
Especially I think when the brand, we don't realize it's a brand, but it's
that
one person's name. We
yes.
think like it's one person's name. I have one name. I'm a person. So therefore, my branding and graphics and social media presence and likes and followers should be on par with that one person. Like,
Mhm.
and that's not, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not,
Yeah.
it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. And it can be really easy to get caught up in that as well.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know why we went off on that tangent, but that was a tangent and I have said I said what I said.
Yeah, no,
So
it's good.
the gist is, do not compare your outputs and inputs to other people's outputs, because
Hmm.
you can't see what they're using. I will say one thing. I worked with uh, in my field of hobby, I got to work with someone, and as a teacher, not as a client, and I was amazed to learn, and I don't know why, because like I do this for a living, but I was amazed to learn she had like a team of like 5 people working with her. And I don't know why it never occurred to me, because
Hmm.
like I do this stuff, but like I was like, oh, like you are not doing this like bespoke in your little house,
Hmm.
right? Like you've got a whole
Just
team
you.
to put this together. Um, so that is like, even marketers or even people who have done this for really, like, we can still kind of fall for the
Hmm.
so and so does it this way. Why can I not? Like,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I
yeah.
guess maybe kind of on that vein, like what other things maybe are we falling for, or what other things are people trying to do that you're like, whoa, like you have one gif that's like, no. Like what are some things that I know you've covered quite a few, like what are some things that you're like, okay, don't do this thing. Like if you're going to,
Mhm.
use social media or whatever, like don't do
Mhm.
this. Like what mistakes are people making out there?
Mistakes of people. So I don't necessarily want to call them mistakes,
Okay.
because most of the time they're made in good faith,
Hmm.
right? Especially if you are not if you wait, I'm gonna contradict myself.
Okay.
If the person is a marketer, they have probably a reason for doing it. And there are a lot of marketers out there. I'm just gonna say that right now. But I think my biggest pet peeve / whatever is taking from multi-level marketing tactics. So like
Oh,
the
yeah.
the more info
Yeah.
is a multi-level marketing tactic. They do it so they don't have to say the company name in their post. So when I see non-MLMers do it, I'm like, ooh, you're in danger. Girl, you're in danger. Like, don't do
Mhm.
it.
They
Oh, but
probably don't even know that they're doing it. They probably
no,
just see other people doing it.
the other, but some things are, and it all comes back to the basics, actually.
Mhm.
Not paying attention to their metrics, like not paying attention to their numbers over time. But then, and also paying too much attention to individual metrics. So around this time, you'll probably see there's been quite a few posts on threads that I've seen that are like, just so everybody knows, there's this one creator, I'm forgetting his name, and I apologize, random man who does a great job with threads. But he said something like, I am telling all of my clients and all of my friends, it's not you, it's everyone. Numbers are down during this time of year.
Okay.
And I can tell you, because I have been in the industry tracking stuff, different
Mhm.
things, but all kind of involving engagement since 2001. That literally hurts me to say. Like 2001. I have been tracking numbers. And historically, pre-cell phones, internet traffic crashed Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving because everybody was home
We
and
were out at Black Friday. We were in line.
we weren't on our phones. We were
Yeah.
alone because we weren't on our phone. For a while, that changed once we all got iPhones in our pocket or computers in our pocket, right? But we still see habitually a decrease in attention from like the week before Thanksgiving to like I see with my clients like the week after New Year's.
Okay.
And sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down depending on what we're sharing. But usually I expect fewer returns and there's a few reasons for it. But the big one is everybody's attention is extremely fractured, right? Think about all of the news articles or all of the podcasts or all of the Instagram posts you have saved. And you're like, I'm going to look at this during the holiday break when I don't have anything else to look at. Like, so people's attention is fractured and everyone is communicating more than they usually communicate. They're communicating at a higher frequency. So there is more stuff and more things vying for attention. So that's something that I can pretty confidently say every year, this is going to happen to my client. But also, I work with a lot of people very long term, and I encourage people to track their metrics long term. You will find your ebbs and flows. You might be like, my metrics are perfect at this time of year. Cool. Good for you. You do you, friend. But if you track your own personal business metrics year over year, you will find your ebbs and flows so that when something dips or something goes off or is awry or something's really, really good, you can say to yourself, this is within my pattern. I do not necessarily need to tell myself a story about it.
Oh, the telling yourself a story. Yep.
Telling yourself
That's
a story
good.
about what metrics mean. Or this is new and different. I might explore what this means. And like, oh, if I want a really amazing week, does it mean I repeat the same type of post next week? No. It means I look and see what happens the next week. See what I might learn from it, right? So it kind of, I want people to pay attention to their metrics, but I don't want them to be married to their metric in a way that each week or day they are inferring a different marketing direction or communications direction based on what the numbers said from the table. It's
Yeah.
not the stock. You're not the stock market.
Yes. I don't even know how to check. The only metrics I like understand is like when I go to like LinkedIn or on Twitter, really those are the only ones I know. And it just tells you like impressions. That's it.
Mhm.
That's all I know. A couple people like some things, maybe a comment. But like I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to write it down.
So back in the day, and by the day, I mean like 2009 to
Mhm.
2013, views were big and likes were big. And for some brands, I still have to be like, no, no, no. We don't slapping hands saying we don't care about views and likes. Like they're nice, but they are ultimately vanity metrics.
Mhm.
The things that matter, and I please note when I say this, I look at it over time. I do not, I
Mhm.
look post by post because I'm a nosy person and this is what I do. But like a really amount, I track it over time. Engagement outside of likes, so shares, comment,
Mhm.
link click, what people are doing, what's they get to the place that I sent them. So are they signing up? Are they leaving? Do they care? Right. Um, that that kind of thing. And also like, is the goal happening? Whatever your
Mhm.
goal is,
Yes.
maybe it's to get people to sign up for your newsletter. Maybe it's to get people to buy something. Ultimately, all the likes in the world and all the views in the world might not make people do what
Mhm.
you want them to do once they've gotten to the place that you have.
Mhm.
So I usually will also start backwards. So when I do social ads, for example, I had a client who was, I do this thing called How Do I, which is like for soloists. Where like, I want to learn how to do Facebook ads and I don't want to figure it out myself. So I help them figure it out. And her ad was great. It was getting conversions, but nobody was signing up.
Mhm.
And we finally looked at the page. Should I have done this in advance? Yes, I should have, but that's in my defense, I broke my ankle and wasn't thinking clearly. But when we looked at the page, 90% of her visitors were on mobile, and the sign up button on the standard sized iPhone, which was a large chunk of her visitors, was below the fold.
Okay.
People were they were jumping to the link and they were like, I'm not gonna scroll through this. And they were leaving. So once we flipped it so that you could sign up and then scroll down to learn more, and we even said that, changed everything.
Mhm.
So always start, like if you're like, my social posts aren't converting, it actually might be your website. It actually might be how it looks on mobile. It actually could be the language that you're using. Or
Mhm.
like maybe you're asking too much of people. Like if they're on mobile, maybe don't ask them their first name, their last name, their birthday, and
Their address, their social security number.
wait, just get an email from them and move
Yeah.
on. Like you can get the
Mhm.
rest of the stuff later. So that's kind of the piece that
Mhm.
like you want to look kind of deep in the bowels before you make any major, because what we always want to do is we always want to make tweaks on the surface. So
Mhm.
people I see, so I guess when you say what's a mistake, when you see someone constantly testing new messaging all the time on
Mhm.
either or new offers all the time on social or email or even on their websites, like that usually, like my question would always be what's the very last step and then change from
Mhm.
there.
Okay.
What's changing at the top? It's kind
Mhm.
of like decorating a Christmas tree,
Mhm.
right? You don't put the star on top until everything, I mean, I don't put the star.
Yeah.
But you really would not put the lights on last. Like
Mhm.
that's
Yes.
what you would do.
Yeah.
So like think of the back end as the lights.
Mhm.
What's going on with the back end
Mhm.
before you get up to it?
Yeah, and the experience for sure, like, test it out, like, oh, some
Yeah.
people don't look at their websites. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
whole thing.
Yeah. And then also giving it time.
Mhm.
I think that's the last mistake is veering wildly from tactic to tactic or thing to thing, not giving stuff time. I have a client that I worked with this year, and I got to see their metrics on their stuff. I didn't work on this product, but I got to see their metrics on their different products. And the most amazing thing to me is that they had one product that was like their starter product, which I got, which was also, I loved it. It was great. But that is like their best selling product, which, it's a lower price point. All of that stuff makes sense, right? But the thing they do that was such a reminder for me as to why it kept selling was not that it was the lowest price point thing, right? Because there were a couple things, they had added some things and they were lower price. It was that they made the point of continuing to talk about it, why people might need it. I think they started, I want to say they started it, it's about 5 years old. So like 2017, maybe. And people are still buying it. It's still relevant. It's not a time sensitive thing. But they add like a couple times a month in social, they'll post about it. They'll post about it in like stories. They'll post about it on Twitter. And then the coolest part is also like in all of their email, like their email onboarding, their email, like their newsletters, they will have it as like one of the ways to work with or one of the things that you can do. And it just really hit me how consistency and not assuming that everybody already knows about insert thing here, like your easiest thing, right? Or your smallest thing or starter thing. How that can translate into consistent like action, right? So this company did it. They now don't have to think about, like, it's embedded in their email system, right? Like it's embedded in their social calendar. And it's just kind of like now it's almost like a check the box. They don't do anything fancy. They're not holding half off sales for it. No, they just mention it. And so every new person who comes in still has a way to get introduced to it. So
yeah, I think that's really important that not everybody knows you. And if you say something on Tuesday for the people who meet you on Wednesday, then they're not going to know about it because you can't just be like, oh, well, I said it on Tuesday. I think we feel like, and we are like, we feel like we're repeating ourselves, but not everybody hears and sees every single thing that we say all the time. So it is good because people need to hear it multiple times. So if we say it 10 times and you just don't even hear it 5 of those times or don't even see it, then you still have 5 times that the message gets in before you're like, oh, you know what? Like, that makes sense. I do want to sign up for that email list, or I do want to, whatever action it is, go to that event or whatever.
It's a similar thing in branding. I used to do a lot of work with a branding design agency. Pretty much their bread and butter was rebrands. It was either logos and branding and brand identity for new companies, or it was rebranding and new identity for existing companies.
Okay.
And a lot of times they would have companies come to them and be like, we need a full rebrand. We want new colors. We want a new logo. We want a new website. We want all of the things. And the first question they would always ask was, when was the last time you rebranded? And 9 times out of 10, it would be under 5 years. And some, additional probing questions would happen. But what we would often find is they were tired of the brand. Internally, I hate these colors. Yes. Like, we need new letterhead. Like, what they would tell them, and this was a great lesson for me as a marketer because I actually took that into my work on social with them, was when you are getting tired of your thing or your brand is right when your customers are probably getting used to it and finding it familiar.
Nice.
And right when you are getting tired of your messaging or like talking about the thing is probably when your audience is realizing that you have the thing. And it can be hard. Like, you're like, well, I don't want to.
Right. You're like, it's so ugly
Right?
now. Yeah.
Telling people about
Yes.
like water and gas sale. Like, I'm
Mhm.
bored. To quote Marge,
Mhm.
repetition is our job. Repeating yourself is your job. That is
Mhm.
maybe number one. As a business owner, if you are going to get people to
Mhm.
take action on the things that you want them to take action
Right.
to,
Right.
like,
So this might segue right into your advice, like,
oh,
because this sounds like a piece of advice and maybe some of the things you've already said. So, like, what are some top tips, like, for people, like, they're launching a product, maybe, like, repetition, and maybe
listen,
what's the
listen.
other top things people
Yeah.
should be doing?
Consistency, repetition. If you are a soloist or you are the face of your organization, so like you are your name is your
Mhm.
name, right? Like, get over yourself. Get out of your way. I come by this honestly, and I'm saying this like the call is coming from inside the house. I will tell you this right now. Get over yourself, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to market my stuff or talk about my stuff on social media
Yeah.
because I'm the parent.
Mhm.
It's like, how are people going to buy from you if they don't know what the hell you do?
Yeah.
Right?
Very true.
Get out of your own way. That's maybe my biggest piece of advice. Um, I would say the planning. So consistency, but
Mhm.
also planning. I love a good spreadsheet. That is my way.
Mm.
I know you are a fan of
Yes.
patterning, right? Like,
Mhm.
so, and creating a pattern that works for you. That can be another way to plan. Even a good old fashioned paper calendar.
Mhm.
Write it down, say it's going to happen, put it in your workflow, and then at the very least, it'll happen. And then also, I would say the last thing is you don't have to be perfect in your social or your marketing.
Mhm.
What that means is I spend a lot of time with organizations. The best clients don't do this, but I've had my clients where they're like, should we really use the word "the" there? Or I'm worried that our logo isn't being like, you don't have to
Mhm.
be that, especially if you're a soloist or a
Mhm.
small, you don't have to be that precious and perfect. You can be just a little bit, maybe you don't say it right the first time, you get a second chance.
Mhm.
A lot of times I see business owners get hung up on using the perfect language over social to describe their product. And it's like, just say what it does. Like,
Mhm.
people are not looking for poetry. You're not Shakespeare.
Mhm. Be
Uh,
clear. Be clear.
be clear and
Mhm.
concise, but also if you go on just a little bit, it's okay. You're going to have a second chance,
Yeah.
right? You're going to have a second and a third, because guess what? You're going to have to keep doing it
Mhm.
forever until you decide to sunset your product.
Right. Right.
My friends who have these 6 to 7 year old products that is still selling, guess what? You're going to have to keep talking about it 7
Mhm.
years if it's not time sensitive. So that's kind of the final piece. Oh, and I guess the other thing I'd say is like, don't don't pay attention. Well, pay attention to what other people do, right? Be aware. Be
Mhm.
aware of what's going on in the world. But don't let what other people are doing in their marketing affect your marketing
Mhm.
or affect how you feel about your marketing. Because your business is your business and their business is their business. And what they're doing in their business is not because of
Right.
how, like, they're not doing it to make you feel a certain way.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
like, you shouldn't feel that way. I get a lot of people being like, everything I'm doing is wrong. And it's like, dude, it's not even about you. Like,
Mhm.
they're in, London. Like, get a grip. Like, you are talking to people in Chicago, like,
Mhm.
or however it goes, right? Or like, this is marketing to millennials, and my friend, you're marketing to 60-year-old women. Like,
Mhm.
it's a different thing. So, I think a lot of business owners in marketing pay a lot of attention to what everybody else is doing. when they should be paying attention to what's happening in their business.
Yeah, eyes on the road.
Well, eyes on the road. Yeah,
Your road, not their road.
Your road.
Yeah.
Like, don't look at car crash. You can look at car crash because they're internet car crashes are fun to watch, but like you also don't need to look at. I call it shiny object syndrome.
Yeah,
it's just gonna make you doubt your choices. So
yeah, and it's a distraction. Like, it's a distraction from, like, you have work to do. Like, we just told you that you need to service your clients and market your product and do it these ways. You don't have time for extra stuff. You don't have time to look at that.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so tell us where people can find you online.
Where people can find me. Okay, so my website is www.corrieo.net, and I spell Corrie Corrie. I am on Corrie Oberdin on all the socials, and by all the socials, I mean Threads, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I am only on Facebook when I am paid to be on Facebook by other people because none of my clients are on Facebook. I have a newsletter called Sustainable Social, which is available on my website. It's literally a pop-up because that's what I want people to do, even though I hate pop-ups. Tiny one. It comes up and then it goes away.
They work. That's why people use them.
Yeah. So Sustainable Social is on my Corrieo.net website. And then it is for small teams of marketing teams of one, and soloists who are either tasked with or use social media in their marketing. To remind us all that we are not Verizon or the Barbie movie, right? Like we can't do the same things that organizations with large teams do. And that's okay. We can make it work for us. And then I have a newsletter called Chaos Freelancer that is the freelancing and solo business ownering, which is a word that I just came up with, newsletter that I needed when I started working for myself back in 2009. Everything I've talked about today, from the comparing myself to big companies to comparing myself to other solo owners, to thinking I should hold myself to a standard that I really shouldn't be, that all of that stuff that I talk about is because I have been through it and done it in the last 15 years. That is called chaosfreelancer.com. You can sign up there. There are some fun things coming in the next year on that. So that is me. And I be a little saucy and a little spicy. So if you like the occasional accidental F-bomb, particularly in Chaos Freelancer, it might not be.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today and sharing all of your experience. Hey, thanks for listening. I'd love to continue the conversation in your inbox. Email subscribe to hey@yfdp.show or sign up in the show notes to get bi-monthly emails about how you can create, launch, and market your first digital product. Can't wait to see you there.